So legislation. Um, so we're going to cover what is a legislature, how does it work, and what are the products of legislation. There is sort of the end product, which is the law, and it can be found in different locations, and it kind of goes through places you can find it. I know it sounds crazy right now. It's not really unitary. There are lots of different pieces to this. There are products along the way. So there are versions that you may be asked to find, and then there's sort of byproducts or analysis that happens along the way that you may need to know about, or that you may have people may try to get you to find. So we have a legislature, and I'm typically talking about this country. I don't do a lot of comparative law because I don't know a lot about the laws of other countries except in very specialized senses. I know a little bit about copyright law in other countries because I have to deal with it. So I am typically talking this country, and we have two basic kinds of legislatures. So we have a state legislature, and then we have a federal legislature, and they produce their level and their jurisdiction. So we have the federal legislature that operates out of Washington, D.C. They create federal statutory law, and then we have the states. And typically in this class, I'm just focusing on Texas because it does work differently from state to state. I'm familiar with some of the other state laws, and we will talk about them because you usually do have to know a little bit about other states. So we'll talk about just some of the weirdnesses and differences. But typically they work the same way. The processes are very similar. Sometimes the jargon is a little bit different. Things are called different things in different states and different from federal and state. But generally they both produce legislation as a final goal. Those are laws. They're known as laws. They can be called acts or statutes depending on the context. And then there are these intermediate products that are called legislative history. So when you hear that term legislative history, that's what they're referring to, and that can be bill files, and they're known as bill files because originally they were files, like they were actually file folders, like files, and in some cases they're still stored that way. There are House reports, Senate reports, and committee reports. At both levels. They're committee hearings, and you can have recordings or transcripts of, and then there's floor debates. So you have the legislation as it goes through the process and versions. It kind of goes in and out of committees and back and forth between the House and the Senate, and it will have reports at different points in time. The bill file collects all of this information. So it's kind of the source. And luckily, most of those are electronic now. So they're usually the products are free. You just have to know where to access them and how to kind of work your way through them. And we'll look at all that. We're actually going to go a little more in depth with legislative history on one of the later classes. It is something that I've found that law librarians are expected to be experts on more than attorneys. So this is something attorneys don't generally learn in law school. And it is a sort of a library function because we have to kind of navigate sources. So in this set of PowerPoints, I was new to my job as a copyright officer, and so all of the pictures that I've actually put attribution, like proper attribution, which is funny because not all of the PowerPoints are like that.